and Rob McGregor welcome you to a place where all kinds of phenomena flourish. Voices whisper ancient secrets, signs and symbols are abundant. UFOs, ETs, ghosts, and even the dead move about freely. Here we meet authors, researchers, and investigators of the mysterious, the strange, and of the inexplicable anomalies that surround us. Step out of the everyday world and take a journey into the mystical underground.
Start in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Mystical Underground. Thank you for joining us. This is Trish McGregor and
Rob McGregor,
and our producer and tech magician, John Posey. You can go to themysticalunderground.com where we make regular blog posts and where you can find out about our books. Among them are Phenomena, Harnessing Your Psychic Abilities, The Secrets of Spirit Communication, Sensing the Future, and Aliens in the Backyard. Our most recent book is Mind-Blowing Synchronicities, the latest science, stories, and research. My latest novel, White Crows, and Rob's most recent novel is called Tulpas. If you're watching us on YouTube, we would appreciate it if you would take a second to click the like, subscribe, and notification button so you never miss an episode. If you prefer to listen to the show, it's available wherever you listen to podcasts, so please subscribe there.
Okay, our guest today is Scott Guerin. Has a doctorate in psychology focusing on human and spiritual development, and he's an author of books on the subject. He's also an adjunct professor at Kean University in New Jersey for over 20 years. His academic and healthcare career reflects his deep engagement with spiritual growth and health psychology. Passionate about spirituality and the great outdoors, Dr. Guerin enjoys triathlons, hiking, and adventures with his wife, Debbie, their sons, and their spirited dog, Izzy. He resides in northern New Jersey. His latest book is called Looking for Angels, A Guide to Understanding and Connecting with Angels, and he co-authored it with Nicole Bigley. Welcome, Scott.
Well, it's good to have you.
Yeah, thank you, Trish and Rob. Happy to be here.
Great.
What kind of dog is Izzy?
Izzy is a terrier mix.
Oh, okay.
And so she's got the terrier energy. That's when we got her 6 months old. We got her, and I said, "Well, I guess I'll never sleep past 4:30 a.m. ever in my life."
Yeah,
I'll trade you a boxer for a terrier.
Yeah. So yeah.
So Scott, you had already written a couple of other books about angels. What motivated you to write this one, and how is it different from the others?
Yeah, the other two books I have is just depicts one is a spiritual journey, and it's an angel and training series. So it's a bit misnomer that we're angels in training. We're certainly more than that. We're divine. We're parts of the divine, all that is, and angels are a created species. But in any case, we're all on a journey. And I felt very strongly, even at the age of 13, I was just passionate about everything God, related. We were going to a Lutheran church at the time, and I questioned. So, quick story. In the 7th and 8th grade, we were going to confirmation classes, and the first year was kind of classes once a week. Second year, my older siblings told me, the second year, you're going to have to take sermon notes and hand them in, right? Which freaked me out because I was not a good student at that time. And so, but I did anyway, right? So I did it the first year when I didn't have to, and I filed them. So the second year came around and required, he made the announcement, we have to, submit sermon notes. And first couple weeks went by, like, okay, fine. And then all of a sudden, wait a minute. This one, he gave this sermon last year, like the exact same sermon. And then I just let it go. And then a couple weeks later, another time happened, right? So then I'm like, I was a kid. He was this larger than life, leader, the pastor, And I said to myself, I said, there's got to be some reason, some spiritual existential reason why God told him to tell us this. Maybe we didn't get it. Maybe there was new people. Who knows? But there must be something. So after a few weeks, I mustered the nerve to corner him after church one day, and I said, Pastor, I noticed repeating some sermons, and he just stared at me, and then he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, Scott, this is a tough job. And then my life, I tell people that my life just cracked in half. Like, what? This is my lifeline to God, and this is a job to him. So from then on, that was kind of my break. Like not that I rejected everything, but it's like, there's got to be, I have to find stuff out on my own. So that's when I went through, our family kind of left that into the conservative Christian movement. And then I kind of moved away from that into Presbyterian. And then whatever I was in all in. I was an elder. I taught Sunday school, everything, fasting, praying, whatever, was the recommended way to connect with God. And so even though that happened in my late 30s, my life fell apart to the point where I just couldn't. I was very dark time. I couldn't move on. And then I kind of came out of that and said, all right, I want to find out about God, but F religion, I'm done with that. Because that, when I wanted Jesus, God, the most, everything, everybody was MIA, to help me. So then that's when I dove full, just as the same passion I did with religion, dove into psychology and science, all related to spirituality, spirit, how we can connect, because that is the theme in my life, connecting with spirit, God, finding out who we are, And so that's kind of my journey. And then my first two books are about that. It's just depicted like the spiritual journey in first book. And then I went through like 12 milestone lessons. And some of them are basic, like what's the difference between religion and spirituality and other things. But then I look into prayer and law of attraction and all these things, and that's in the second book. And then I was kind of at maybe 4 or 5 years, nothing really going on. Through my college years, my dissertation was about the effects of prayer and meditation. And so I got into prayer and mainly meditation. Got into the Buddhist Vipassana meditation, 10-day sessions, a couple of those, and I was doing okay. And then I was like, I'm ready to do something else, but I need something a little more specific to look into. And that's when I read a article in Rolling Stone magazine about Carlos Santana. Right.
All right.
And I love Santana. Right.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, I put it all in a short chapter 2 by itself, because that's what was the spark for this book, was saying, because, briefly, the Carlos Santana connected with Archangel Metatron, which was, I did time out, Archangel Metatron. Like I hadn't known anything about him. And then he connected with Metatron. Metatron said, you're going to make a comeback in an album, which is what I love, the album Supernatural that was released in 2000. Rob Thomas, Smooth. I still love that song. And but the more I read the article, I certainly confirmed Carlos's spiritual connection and Metatron, and that how Metatron said, you are going to make an album and it's going to be very popular. And then in the height of that, right when he won his first Grammy on it, Metatron told him that we've given you great success, but we want something back. And then other articles kind of tell us that he was concerned, like, well, what do you want? What does that mean? And then the statement to him was, we want you to tell the world about your abuse, which turns out he was abused about every other day for 2 years when he was 10 to 12 years old. And he never told anybody about it. But so he kind of resisted that. And Metatron said, no, this is what you're here to do. You're here to do this because people will heal from that. And that's exactly what he did. He went on a media tour, Rolling Stone, Time Magazine, the news networks telling all about this. And who knows how many tens of thousands of people were healed by that, because they said, that he shared his story and they say, you made it through, so can I. And it was a great time. And here's the thing, was 1999, 2000 was the first big waves of the abuse within the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows how many thousands of people kind of came out with this awareness and and shared their stories, and then you have this. So to me, and I say to this day, I mean, Nicole and I go back and forth a little bit, like, what's the greatest angel story impacting humanity? And I'm like, I don't know. I kind of go back to Santana because, look how many, it's modern day. Certainly it's not in ancient texts. Modern day happened 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And so that was the first spark. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, that's a great
That
story.
is a good story. That's a great way to be catapulted.
Mhm.
Yes.
I was just gonna, and I was desperately searching for who to attribute this to, but I read I believe it was an Instagram post this morning. I just don't remember which musician it was that posted it, but had said, stated that I don't play music, the music plays me, and he was suggesting the spiritual that the spiritual aspect of that it's not something you just play around with. It just is you're a conduit for it.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that's very strong throughout Santana, and other people like John Coltrane, and these people like you never knew, but they have this spiritual practice and connection and exercises to open themselves up to do just that, to have the music come through them.
Scott, tell us about the synchronicity that brought you and Nicole together.
Oh, yeah. So once I got this idea in my head, like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I was doing a local book. It was a holistic health show, a health fair, and I got a table, and I had my 2 books there, and then I didn't know what I was doing, but I put a poster saying, my next book is something about angels. I think I had the title, Looking for Angels. And if you have an angel story, please send it in. And so, some people were, talking and, talking about it and that, which was great. Directly across the aisle from me was a tarot card reader. And she had a wonderful booth. It was beautiful. She had a reading table and all these things to buy. And so we would say hi. It was a 3-day event, so we would run into each other and say hi along the way. At the end of the show, or at the end of the conference, we were talking. I said, so how was it? This and that, and fine. And I said, so what do you think of my table? I mean, it was like bare minimum. And she said, she's a very quick speaking. She said, well, you're academic and you oversell that and it's kind of boring, so you got to liven that up. I'm like, okay. And she said, plus you talk about yeah. Oh, that's it. Yeah. So that's the way she was. And then, and she said, and plus you talk about angels and you don't have any images, figurines, or statues. That would be good. And I go, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And then she started walking away, and she turned back. She says, oh, you need a female voice as well. You need that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Thank you for that. And then over the next few days, now I had been listening to a Psychic's Story podcast, which Nicole Bigley had been running for, at that time, 4 years. And every week there is a guest, like a medium, a Wiccan, a numerologist, energy healer. And I was eating all that up because it's just information I gained from that. And so a couple days later, I said, you know what, maybe I can ask her, right? She's probably busy running the podcast and all that. But I sent an email to her saying, what would you be interested in this? And she responded quickly saying, we have to talk. And so we got on the phone, and it turns out that one day, now she is in the public relations industry, a full-time job. She runs the podcast and she's a practitioner, so she does sessions like all the time. And she was preparing for a session, and her spirit team said, we want you to write a book about us. And she says, replies back like, I'd be very happy to do that, or like to do that. And they said, we want the book to tell people about us and how to connect with us and all that. And she said, I'd like to, but I can't do it. I'm so booked right now. You have to send me someone to help write this. And that was the same day that the tarot card reader told me that I needed a female voice.
Wow, that's a good synchronicity.
I know. And so that's how we started. And believe me, in those dark hours, you're authors, in those dark hours of a manuscript editing, when you're like, oh my God, why am I even doing this? you look, and that really motivated us always, and it still does to this day, that had put us together. And she's the real deal, and it's been fascinating to me, because new to this not new to intuitives, but new to working with an intuitive on a daily basis, not like in a session. And so that's what that was really great, and we have great friendship today.
Yeah, does Nicole do readings?
Oh yeah, she's a practitioner. And she does readings all the time.
You mean tarot readings?
Excuse me?
No, she's not the
tarot readings.
somebody else.
Okay, that's somebody else. Okay, I was confused there.
Yeah. Just her method is her spirit team speaks with the person's spirit team, and then she conveys that information through.
Scott, I have a question. I had written you about the death of our cat.
Oh, yeah.
And you wrote me back, and it was very comforting what you said. But explain to me what a spirit team is. What does it consist of?
Okay.
Our pets, our lost people?
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, the spirit team, I mean, it is like, is there a better, my friend who is like, he's like, interested, but not totally bought into this. He read my book line by line. He's a good friend of mine. And he goes, I spent hours trying to find a better name for a team. So it's like, you feel like pom-poms and like, megaphones.
Cheerleaders.
Yeah, so it's the best thing. It's a group of spiritual beings, right, that now, there's different takes on this, because it's a big world out there. And but our take, and a lot of people still believe in it, that we do have a team of spirit entities that surround us and support us. And it starts with the guardian angel, right? So our belief is that, prior to this life, as we're planning it out, we have spiritual beings in that part of that planning, and we give permission to guardian angels to intervene, to support our journey and what we want to learn, and intervene without asking, right? So the proverbial going down the road and a truck is coming and all of a sudden it's diverted, right? So you don't have to ask for that. But for the most part, the rest of our planet and our existence right now in our physical world dimension is free will. And that's a big, big deal. And that means that angels, archangels are all standing there waiting for us to ask them. And obviously, to ask a question, you have to have something in mind. You have to have an intention. You have to come to that question, and then you ask, and then your spirit team will assist you in that, as long as that's for your best and highest good. Right? That's the big phrase.
So we have free will. Do angels have free will?
Oh boy, that's a good question.
That's my next question.
I spent a lot of times in the Judeo-Christian, Muslim, or Islam text, and it's all over the place. Most people believe that they're kind of hardwired to working out, God's will, and God's will meaning God, source, ourselves, our will for this life, our journey in this life, and our plans, and that they can't say like, "Nah, I'm not going to help. I'm not going to help Rob today." He's got to figure out this one. But so it's now one Islamic scholar said that in the Islam world, angels are pretty much don't contact them or don't ask them. You do everything through Allah. And then the angels are like, he said, they're like the machines on a Toyota assembly plant, automotive assembly plant. They just do what they do. So they, do they have free will or not? It doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter because their motivation is love, pure, non-judgment, and pure helping us to achieve our journey and our goals in this life.
Had they been human?
No, well, see, that's the other thing. Now, going back to the sacred texts of, the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, and certainly Christians and Islam accept a lot of those texts as well. The model that they put out is that when the physical universe was created, God then, all that is source, created him, expanded himself into us, right, human beings. But our physical world, our physical bodies, physical world is created, and then at some point along that continuum, the angelic realm was created. So that means there was no angels at one point, and then there are angels that are, right? So that's the thing you could say is that they're different species than us. But certainly they're certainly living, frolicking in the outside of physical dimension, the third dimension, as a lot of people would say, fourth, fifth, sixth, all the way up. And at times they can dip down slow their vibrations down into appear to us, physically, and, through audio as well.
Have you ever seen one?
I have not seen one. I probably have met one, like engaged with a human that didn't say that they were an angel. But certainly my connection with divine source is through clairvoyance. That's how I get a lot of my information. Nothing physical yet.
Do you feel it comes through when you're writing?
Well, at writing, it definitely. I do scrying, which I know you're familiar with scrying. Scrying.
Oh,
is
right.
It's
so automatic writing, is that the same?
Yeah, but it's a little more focused because automatic writing can happen every time and does. Like I always say, like I'm writing something and I'm really intent on it, and then it's kind of like a flash, and like I'll go by, I'm like, I'll look back like, who wrote that paragraph? It's brilliant. And then I know that wasn't me. Yeah. But scrying, you have a mirror in a darkened room, a mirror and a candle.
Yeah.
And then some people are concerned because it's like a divination tool. But if you get beyond that, to me, to be honest, and I'm just kind of saying this out loud lately, is that I download and automatic write. The source is the Pleiadians, and I just have that connection with them, and it's kind of cool. But otherwise, other automatic writing, speaking, you can channel. That happened to me for the first time in my life. Two months ago, I was on this program, and the topic given to me was angelic guidance in uncertain times. And for some reason that topic just weighed on me, and I'm like, I got to get this right. And the day before, or the day of, I was trying, as you do a talk and you write down notes, bullet points, and I tried to do that with this, and I physically couldn't write a letter. And my mind was blank. And I called my friend who is a very, very sensitive, intuitive. And he said, Scott, stop talking, stop talking. Don't worry about all that. Just step back and let them speak through you. And that's what happened. Like for the first time on an internationally broadcast show, I'm like, talk about freaking out. But but
Were
apparently,
you aware of it? I mean,
yes, I did. I was aware of what was happening. I just wasn't aware of what I was going to say next.
God.
Yeah, that was definitely
Gosh.
that was really weird.
Wow.
But I have learned that I gotta go with this stuff, rather than fight it. But just to get back to the spirit team, I kind of digressed a little bit. But in the spirit team, there are a number of beings. Certainly the guardian angels. You have archangels. You have deities. Whatever your certainly your religious upbringing has a lot to say about who you identify with. But could be Christian, Hindu, Muslim, and then also, and then past loved ones can also be there. Past friends of family. I have a person that I knew growing up through high school. He's a high school teacher to my brothers and sisters, myself, and he was just a dear friend and a teacher at heart. And I latched on to him like anything. So he died in 2015, and he's with me today. I mean, he's standing right here behind me now.
Wow.
Is he going to be reborn? Do you know?
I don't know. I've had a couple readings where he would, how you do a reading and they go,
Right.
oh, your parents came in, or Bob came up, but I haven't heard that. He asked me. Here's an interesting thing. Last time I was with having a reading done, and she says, "Oh, Bob's here," and we're talking about things that we did, and fun we had, and he said, "Tell my wife I said hi." I said hello. His wife is still, and he died 5 years ago, and I said, "So you want me to say those words to her?" I haven't said I've spoken with her because he said, "I want you to find a picture of you and me." Because I want that's important. We should have that. And Marilyn has it somewhere. Ask her, and then tell her I said hi. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe if she was into that and done readings and maybe contact him, I would do it. But I don't know her that well to do that. But so we have people that passed, and I've been, and I've been saying this too, just in the last few months. Like we have to call it and say that. Extraterrestrials are part of our spirit team, right? You have a number. You don't have to go too far to identify the main characters. The Palladians, the Syrians, the
Arcturians,
Arcturians, and there are people interacting with them on a day-to-day basis. Now, are they divine beings from God? No, there are brothers and sisters. In my perspective, they just don't. They don't live in Africa. They happen to live in another galaxy. So, and then my connections with them and my comfort with them have kind of had me to kind of say that, because from what you hear, not only from them, but from other people, that you get it. You're in this kind of space that the first contact is coming soon. And what I was told in a Akashic record reading was that people like you are going to need to educate others and about them so that they're not afraid when they make their first appearance.
A lot of people are saying and have been saying that there's a shift involved towards the spirituality. And I'm wondering how you have experienced that in your teaching in 20 years, how students react to angels now and how they would have 20 years ago.
Yeah, well, the teaching I did, you hear a lot of people, a lot of teachers, at the undergrad or even grad level, they go and they're just using their platform to spew their ideas. Yeah. I pretty much kept with psychology, when all the different concepts within that, learning theory and cognition. At times I would talk to people about that, but the biggest thing is my own journey is a reflection of the shift that's going on, people. And then you match the numbers up, right? So you look at the trends in organized religion. People are going down. People are not in the United States. We hit all-time high 2 years ago. 30% of people in the United States do not affiliate themselves with a religion.
Wow.
And the people at Pew Research say within 20 years, people unaffiliated with organized religion will outpace people affiliated. And then
It's
you look.
It's even higher in Europe.
Yes,
Churches are empty there.
Yes, cafes. They're doing condos and cafes and that. And in Germany, it's like 500,000 people a year are leaving the Catholic Church.
Wow.
But so that's the one side of it, and then the other side is increases in psychic services. On the business end, you can get numbers on this. And the other thing that kind of got me about a couple of weeks ago, the number of people meditating in the world is going up. And in the United States, it like quadrupled in the last 10 years. And to me, that's a huge indicator, because you can say, like, I believe this, I believe that. But the people who are meditating, that is really impacting your vibration. And then the big number is what number of people in the world have to change their vibrations before the whole world will change. And it's not that big. I mean, it's like 5% or 10% in order to make a global change in our vibrations. So
when are these ETs going to make themselves known?
I don't know. I mean,
Did they give you a year?
No, because he thought, once you're outside of this physical realm, time is like, non-existent. So they could say soon, and it could that could be my lifetime, another lifetime. For me, it could be the next 10, it could be the next few months, it could be the next few years.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I wonder, and I just had the thought today that some people say that the UFO, what do they call them now? UAEs or
UAPs.
UAPs increased after 1940 when the first atomic bomb went off, because it's the first time we as a species have the power to destroy ourselves. And I'm wondering now if what'll hasten it is the spread of AI, because that's another thing that could go through a society like a wildfire and shutting things off and turning things around. And, so anyway, possibly because of those things, I'm not sure, but they say it's soon. I kind of have that feeling, and I'll do my best. I mean, just bringing it up here, you folks talk about it as well. I think that's part of it, is to be aware.
We talk to a lot of people who've had, I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
No, well, go ahead with your thoughts.
No,
on
I'm
this,
just going to
because
say
I'm
we've
going to take us in the left
people...
field here in a second. So go ahead.
We've had a lot of people on the podcast who've had abduction experiences or who have, occurring experiences with ETs, and everybody says the same thing. It's going to happen soon. But I want somebody to give me a year, a month, a day. I'll be outside. I'll be waiting.
Yeah. It's funny because they say, I was told that, like, it's important that people you desensitize people on the idea, so that when it does happen, it'll happen. And then I remember, and I think it was called "They Came from Outer Space," but it was a black and white movie back in the 50s.
That.
Right. I think that was the one where a spaceship, a flying saucer, landed in the desert. What happens? We send our military there, and they start shooting at it. Right?
Yeah.
No contact, no conversation. They just start
Nothing. Yeah, you're enemies.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Pathetic. So, okay, John, left field.
So, and I really don't remember exactly what was said that triggered this, but I felt the need to ask it. Over the last few weeks, I've had this new recurring dream, totally different from anything I've ever had before. But as a scholar of the sacred text, how do dreams? Are dreams a way that we interact with these with angels or other beings?
Yeah. Well, very powerful. Dreams are very powerful. It's and I think the reason is that because it's when our minds are kind of idling, or we're not focused on anything physical, and you can get into the mechanics of it. The alpha state, are more open. We did a survey right at the beginning of the book. We did an international survey of 800 people from mainly 4 countries around the world, and we asked them, and it would have been bigger if I had the funds, but we had so we asked 800 people, do you believe in angels? Yes or no? So people who said no, they're screened out of the study. So 75% said yes, which is about what the U.S. is up there. 72% people believe in angels. But then we asked them, okay, if you believe in angels, have you had an interaction with them? And so 36%, or around 200, said, yes, I've had an interaction. And then we gave them a list of 12 things that we looked around and asked and came up, looked into some, instruments that gauge these things. And we said, oh, yeah, of these 12 things, what did you experience? And that answer, or that question, generated 700 responses, because people would have multiple experiences. But the top one, by far, it was like about 16% of the people answered having vivid or reoccurring dreams that feel different than other dreams. That was their top one. And then the other ones were, strong sense to change direction, hear your name called. But yeah, so dreams, and for me personally, very, important to, even in psychology, as a therapist, you'd say, have you had any dreams? Reoccurring dreams could mean something. But taking it one step further, that is a way, I believe, that spirit communicates with us in very vivid ways,
Well, and you can add a +1 onto that top response you got on the survey, because I think that's what I've been seeing.
Are you getting the message from that, the learning?
I'm assuming it's recurring, because I'm pretty hard-headed, and it's taken a while to
What's the dream, John? Okay,
well, you don't have
sure.
to,
we're not going to go into the dream, I promise that. But I think I feel like that's why it's recurring, is I'm not getting the message yet. So.
Now, Scott, I'd like to go back to what you were just talking about a few minutes ago, so the aliens activity might have began or increased at the time of the atomic bomb, but then you also mentioned now with the AI. And I just want to mention one thing, that John works in the industry and with this related to the AI, but he was shocked, and I was shocked by how AI can now take a few words and turn a manuscript into an audio book. John, you were surprised by that, right?
Oh, well, sure, but more, just surprised. The generative AI is the surprise, is just how accurate, taking like 10 minutes of a voice, and well, we won't get down in the weeds on this, but it's just, but I mean, but also, to be clear, I really feel like artificial AI means different things to different people, and generative AI is really happening due to the fact that memory got really cheap, and we have it's brute force. The data farms are so big, memory's so cheap, and so we can crunch the numbers much more efficiently than even 5 years ago. But anyway, it is kind of shocking when you drop 10 minutes of somebody's voice and then just start typing words in, and they're talking back to you. That is something we couldn't do just a couple of years ago.
But taking this, excuse me, Scott, I just want to add one thing. But taking this to the future with AI, you look at some of the things that are coming supposedly from the aliens, is that some of these crafts are actually conscious beings themselves, and interact with the passengers, and can be flown through like voice recognition. So that would be a very advanced thing that of course we're nowhere near that, but that's one.
Well, we don't know. Maybe we are.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, I saw Oprah Winfrey had a special on, I think, ABC, the other night, and I just listened to it this morning, and it just boggles your mind. And she says it's a big deal. So if Oprah says it's a big deal,
who does she own stock in? I don't know, but
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you have to look at the commercials so you can see.
You mean so she's talking about ETs?
AI.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and she had some developer. It was mind blowing. It's worth tracking down to take a look at it. But
yeah, it seems so far from the subject of angels, but you never know.
Scott, do ETs have guardian angels? Do they have spirit teams?
Now, I don't know for sure, but if the model is the way I believe it is, that they are beings just like ourselves, extensions of Source, then and that certainly angels would be relating themselves to them as they would to us, and so I would guess that yes.
Yeah. And then there's the idea that angels had wings, and at least in going times.
The Catholic Church, they did.
So that could be.
There's a wonderful theologian that looked at that, and I put it in the book. His name's escaping me right now, but he did a very extremely good academician, and he looked at, do angels have wings or not? And then his statement was that nowhere does it say angels have wings in the Bibles, in the Old or New Testaments. And then somebody says, well, but it says that the angel flew. And then he says, well, it says that angels flew, but it didn't say they had wings.
What do you make?
Airplane.
What do you make out of the passages from Job about the wheels? Wheels and
so cherubim, seraphim are two spiritual beings that a lot of people just say, well, they're spiritual beings, they're angels. But if you look at the core word angel, it means messenger, so they can take that all the way up from guardian angels to archangels, and that they are some form of messenger. Now, the cherubim and seraphim are not messengers. They had very specific responsibilities to protect the source, and protect the truth. They were put, like, in the Old Testament, at the Garden of Eden, they were put there to protect the garden. Once Adam and Eve, the story goes, they sent away. But so in strictly that context, cherubim and seraphim with all those wild, crazy visions are not angels. So they do have wings and some say jet propelled engines.
Well, and that's what I was curious about, the wheels within wheels. Just as a kid, when I was, that's the being a child of the 80s, growing up in Star Wars, I was like, that sounds like a spacecraft to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
I'm going to this sidebar. I'm going to Egypt next month.
Wow.
And I'm going through Gaia, that organization Gaia.
Right.
And they're going to focus on, in Egypt, but on the pre-Diluvian times, which is right after the fall, right after the beginning of man to up till the flood. And that's where all that stuff a lot of that stuff goes on. And Eric von Nostrum, who wrote the Chariots of the Gods.
Right.
Yeah.
He's going to be one of the archaeologists in this group, and has.
Oh boy.
So and I always you have to be open, but you just don't wholeheartedly accept everything either. But he's going to kind of look at that lens through at least one day. And say, like, here, and there's obviously things that no one knows how it was created or made or moved or whatever. But
where are you going in Egypt?
Well, starting out in Cairo and then going down the Nile to some of the more significant and kind of, when you look into trips in Egypt, they all kind of have the same. Yeah. There's like key stops along the way, but
that sounds very cool.
That's nice. Yeah. Back to angels. Are angels fallible? Are there fallen angels?
Well, so that's the one thing we talked about briefly at the beginning of the book, saying, like, do we go into that, the dark side of things? And we decided to, because of, the book it's right now is, 420 pages, to add that fallen world to it would probably at least double it. And at the same time, we know that the light will always conquer the darkness, and that our intentions are growth and good and love and healing. And so we wanted to stick with the good guys, on that. So I did mention the big, possibly the most significant angel interaction was sometime back when, around the birth of the physical universe, with the Archangel Michael and Archangel Lucifer. I don't know if you're familiar with this story. Lucifer was an archangel, and he wanted more, and then they had a huge fight, and so Lucifer and all his followers were cast aside. So a lot of people think that's where the demons were created as well. So we didn't want to get into that in this book, and frankly,
That's for another book.
But
yeah.
So is there a cosmic war going on? Are angels fighting demons in the great beyond?
It's interesting, because I thought about that. You look in the Old Testament, and man, there are angels killing 140,000 people,
right? Yeah,
this and that, and I wondered if that happens. Is that happening now? And I think logically it must be. And then this last Akashic record reading I had, Archangel Michael was speaking through and saying that, there is a shift and we're here to help and people need to be open. And then it was something, I have to listen to the tape again, but it said something like, and we have a number of battles to fight on or something, like a number of things to do on our side that you're not aware of, something like that.
Yeah, as above, so below.
Yeah. So, I mean, and just philosophically, you can't have good without bad. You have to, in defining existential truths, you have to have contrasts.
Right. I've always had problems with the concept of demons. I mean, it's such a disgusting word. First of all, demon. And to me, it just smacks of Catholicism.
Yeah.
That I was raised Catholic, so and that.
Yeah. But they're real things, and actually, the Catholic Church has, I think, one of the most effective organized way to approach a lot of the what do you call it, demon occurrences and possessions. And I think for the most, from what I haven't gone in depth with it, but just from the studies I've looked into, it works, and they have a kind of handle on it. But
you mean like exorcisms and that kind of thing? Yeah.
We've had a couple. One particular guest I'm thinking of on a couple of times that is really pretty scary interviews we've had with her. Because she has recordings, she's fighting these demons, and she's a very highly evolved person. She's a retired
veterinarian,
and her stories, and I think John got a little frightened by these guys.
I thought she had lent a couple of them to me there for a minute. But,
Well, and I always say, because some people don't have anything to do with angels. Even though they're religious, they're like, no, because if I pray, then who knows what's going to happen in my life? I'm going to be possessed, or my house is going to catch on fire. I'm like, no, you have all the protections. You have to remember you're protected.
Right.
And I say to people, if you don't know, you don't have the background, and something starts going awry where, things are really scaring you, or some physical, you call out, whatever your religious understanding is, if it's Jesus, if it's Allah, if it's, whoever it may be, out loud, Virgin Mary, shout out, please help me, and that's when that's your asking the permission to come in to help you. So just as a
and
you talked a lot about that too, about the dream figures and just the mysticism that he was part of.
Carl Jung. Oh, Young, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love, and that's my favorite all along
Oh,
because
mine too.
he was the one that, early on delved into that, even,
Right.
yeah. So in the book, I have, his acknowledgement that there is a spirit world
Right.
and that, in a sense, our minds are out, there are things outside of our human brains, our physical brains that we have to contend with. And if you focus just on the brain and physicality, you'll discount people's rich experiences in life when the spiritual world. But then he said, if you focus on the spiritual world without the physical and
Right.
physical life, then you discount that as well. So he was good that way.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was.
I just before we started, I had just finished reading that chapter you wrote about the brain. It was very clearly written, and
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it. And for people who are wondering about the brain and the mind, that chapter 7, I think, or maybe, I don't know what the matter.
Yeah,
Somewhere in there.
that's one out of this book. This book itself, I was telling Nicole a while ago. I said this book can be pertinent in 15 years, except for the chapter on science and psychology. Because that's changing rapidly.
Yeah.
And just to go back to the existence of demons, I guess in my computer scientist head, I think in binary, so ones and zeros. So yeah, in way oversimplification, but to some extent it boils down to good versus evil, and certainly there are shades of gray, but I think that's something we inject into the whole thing. But,
yeah, we take sides, or we apply meanings to so many things about whether they're good, bad, or not.
Have you read Jung's The Red Book?
Not
Not entirely,
front to back, right? Like in searching and looking. Yeah, that was.
But to me, I mean, I understand why his family was hesitant to publish it, saying that it was like a journal of madness. But actually, it explains a lot. At least the parts of it that I have read. I haven't read the whole thing, but
yeah, I mean, yeah, he's
he was
one of
such
the
a mystic.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
and it was at the beginning,
Yeah,
right when
he sure was.
psychology got out, and obviously Freud had the whole like sex thing on it. But he was the one that kind of had that spiritual side and pushed it. Yeah, he pushed it, but he didn't like. Yeah, I loved
was
it
gentle.
with him.
Yeah.
Yes, the archetypes and
Right.
collective consciousness and all these things and then in studying for the book, I think I put this in there that he interviewed a woman that was giving birth to a baby and went into a coma, the blood loss, and it is because the woman was able to recount like who was in the room
Right.
when she was technically dead, and then that's when he said, well, there's got to be something outside of the human brain that holds our consciousness if that happened,
Yeah. He also had a story about this when he was in his tower that he built this army of spirits marching past that he was very much aware of that that story really showed the
like he saw that.
He was able to connect with it. So how did writing Looking for Angels impact your spiritual life? Did you any changes?
I mean, I'm like miles ahead of where I was, and the biggest thing was I learned because this was all in a mix with my work on the podcast with Nicole. I help her with the listener episodes and producing, and so I've been zeroed in on all the guests for the last year and a half, and so it's really opened my mind. And then the things I learned, one key thing is that all you have to do is ask. Ask for your mind to be opened up. Ask for guidance and, can I be a medium? Ask. And then all of a sudden a course will show up. And then I took a course, divine mediumship, and you learn, what the course was to learn how to change your perspective and open your mind and ask, and the spirit world will start interacting with you. And so on many different levels, my spiritual life, it is almost like I was asleep and now I'm awake,
Yeah.
somewhat awake.
What
And
month are you born in? Were you a Pisces?
I'm a Gemini in
Oh, a
June.
Gemini. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So tremendous amount, and we wanted to write the book. And that's part of my thing is like, as I learn, I explain, I analyze in my own head, and then I'm like, okay, how would I teach this? How do I share this with others? And so that's what the book is about. If you want to look at religion, you want to look at science, you want to look at how to connect with your spirit team, you want to look at how to connect with a specific entity. What entity is that? So wherever you are in your journey, in your quest, you can check it out. So that's, it kind of reflects, what's been going on with me.
Can
One-
you ask ETs? Say hello.
Well, that's what, and we didn't really put this in the book because this came to me out, probably after it was out or towards the end. But yeah, same thing, you asked, but before I got on here, meditation music, quiet my mind, angels, guides, and ETs, please help me speak your words today to the best and highest good of all involved. Right. So now Nicole will say, so a friend of mine asked me 3 years ago, even before I was even into this depth, he goes, hey, we're going to Philadelphia, and because this group of people channel the Palladians, you want to come? And I'm like, nah, not today. I don't know. It didn't even, dawn on me. And then I get into the book, and I said, to Nicole, I was talking with her, and I said, I should have already taken that up. And she says, well, you got to watch it. You got to watch what you ask for, because if you go to something like that or ask, they'll be like, oh, Scott's interested in us. Okay. And for her and other people who start the inquiry, that's when you'll see, the big thing is you'll be looking outside, or you'll be called, like, go outside. In your mind, you go out and you'll see a ship or something in the sky. Yeah. So at this point, what I was instructed to by one of the readings was that call on us to connect, but not out of curiosity, out of partnership. And to me, and they know this, that I'm ready now for a partnership. And certainly in Egypt, the temple of Dendra, has associations, strong associations with the Palladians, like they built that type of thing. But either way, and I think that's just part of our human evolution, to the next level. I call it the, moving from the third to the fourth and fifth dimension. Other people call it an ascension. The people, and in any case, from what I've heard and learned, was that we've tried to make this ascension before, and it hasn't worked. But now, this time, in time and space, the human story is written in stone. It's solid that we are going to ascend. And that means ascend to unity, love, light, all those good things, that it is done. It is done, and now
we need to talk to you after this Egypt trip.
Yes.
I suspect you're going to have some really interesting experiences.
I was told that I was going to be, and I'm a little, I don't know. I'll come back with a long beard and speak Arabic. I don't know what's going to happen.
I have one more comment I want to make, and a question for you related to the demon thing. It seems like the more conservative the religious groups are, the more interested they seem to be in talking about demons, and they'll call the aliens demons, and it just seems like that is something that is a preoccupation. And you've been in this world yourself; you came from it. I'm wondering. I'm mentioning this because our daughter has a boyfriend now who, they get in an argument, and he
is an alien.
Oh no, he'll say that he's very religious and she's not, and he'll say a demon took me over there.
Rob, keep in mind holidays are coming up soon.
Yes, yeah, right. You want payback?
Right.
Didn't mean to interrupt, but just wanted to throw that out there.
Good point, John.
Yeah. So, do you have any reflection on that?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, Robin. And as passionate I was about all aspect of spirit, religion, when I was in the born again Christian movement for 8 years, I was all in. And until I realized that it wasn't that isn't unconditional love. There's lots of conditions and all of other things. But I got moved away from that, very narrow.
Yeah.
But in that, when you're in that world, it is like they say, truth must be contained here. It must be in this Bible, and anything else must be wrong.
Yeah.
And anything that challenges it must be wrong, evil, bad, and you got to stay away. And so anything, if I said, anything that isn't in, and even though they say it's contained in the Bible, it's how they interpret it in their groups. Anything outside of that is immediately demonized. To the point of demons, and then they bring in like, oh, the devil made me do that, this and that and whatever. But I can see how the culture, it makes things simple.
Yep, it does.
But I think that is the reason why the conservative viewpoints do that, is to protect their own ideology and religion to how they have constructed it, and it makes it easy. Like, oh, what about this? No. Wrong. Go. Stay away. Stay with us. So,
Okay.
But we all are just kind of we are inherently flawed.
But we're not all demons, John.
No. Well, because you're flawed doesn't make you a demon. But that's the shades of gray I think I was talking about earlier, is the interpretations we put on these things.
Well, and then that's the big difference for me, was to say that, and that is certainly the conservative Christian and in Islam, that we're evil, we're flawed, we're broken, and we need something to save us. But in the other flip side of that is that we are divine beings. We are a part of God.
Sure.
And that there is there's nothing to forgive us, other than that we need to remember who we are. And once we remember that we're God's source, light, then all of our fears, all of our judgments, everything goes away from that.
And
that why is the world right now so divisive? Is that part of the process to this ascension?
Well, why it's gotten worse? Yeah. I mean, if you're familiar with the Course in Miracles, I've been going through that finally, after decades. I'm like, I wanted to do it line by line, so I'm doing that. And the one message that comes through, and it's echoed in others, is that it's the idea of separation is what is the root of the bad things, the root of evil, in a sense. That we think that I'm me and you are you, and I have to watch me and and make sure that you don't take from me. When really, when this is all over and we go back to heaven or get connected to Source, we realize that we are all one, we are the same, and we are equal. So the proliferation of the ego mind, that builds up the separation, supports that, is growing, festers, is festering now as the ascension, and it might be a byproduct, I'm not sure, but I think it certainly is agitated because of the movements that they're seeing, that people are like, hey, hey, when I send a missile into a town, I'm killing myself. Well, they're bad. Well, they don't think they're bad.
Yeah.
They don't sit around. No, they think we're bad. No, that's all nonsense. And we could extinguish ourselves. I don't know. But what I do believe, that at some point we're going to get it and say, like, hey, you may be different, but I need to, talk with you and realize that we are both the same, and then start negotiating on that point.
You need to
So-
go on
so-
politics, Scott.
Well, but please
Yeah,
don't. Please don't.
Yeah, 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 I know.
We don't need to lose you.
No.
But so I'm sure this is a way bigger question than we have time for. Well, I'm not sure. I'll ask you. So the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Quran, all deal with these messianic figures, whether they've come or they haven't. There's a promise out there, something to strive towards. Was that just primitive? Was that just primitive us, or is there some? I mean, yeah. Why is it that there's something we should be that even in those sacred texts, there's something to strive towards, to ask for, somebody that or some figure that sacrificed so
Like
that
a Messiah type
a
of
Messiah,
figure.
messianic figures,
Leader.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, stay tuned for hour 2 of our podcast.
I know. I know. It's a big
No,
one.
so generally,
what's the Cliff Notes version?
Okay, Cliff Notes is that if you really look into all the main religions in the world, there is a base of love, of light, of togetherness, of family, of salvation, right? And then the written text are, certainly has their different twists on it, and then people's interpretations go like way beyond even that, adding things like, Jesus said, I'm the way, I'm the only way. So that means that nobody who believes in Jesus is going to heaven. No, that's not what it meant. But so there is the Savior, the Messiah indicators. I think because humanity needed something outside of themselves to pull them along. But as we mature and evolve, we realize. Remember what Jesus said? They said, "Where's the kingdom?" He said, "The kingdom of God is in you." And if a lot of religions resist that because they'll lose power and money and income, if they say, no, you don't need to hear from us anymore, it's in you. Cynically, I say that.
Yeah.
But in general, that is the big turning point to say, no, wait a minute. I know who I am. I'm a part of God, of Source. I contain all love, and all I have to do is remember that, and then all my ego, fears, and anger and frustrations start melting away, and then you become the child of God that we all are.
Yeah, I agree with you that we don't need a Messianic leader to come along and create a new religion. That's the past, and there's a lot of fear in that too. That if you don't believe in this and that, you're going to hell. And
It's all created by Catholics.
and others as well. But it seems to me that we have to recognize that this fear factor is there, and that we have protection from the angels, from our spirit guides, and we can go beyond that and to the light. And I would just like to finish with one final question. Can you give us some simple steps that people can take to learn how to make contact with angels?
Yeah. So we outlined 4, and a lot of people have kind of similar types of things. But the first thing you have to do is ask. You put that intention out there, whatever it may be. Help me to be a better person. Help me to meet my spirit team. Help me to be closer to an archangel, whatever it may be. Put that out there. Then you just trust and you wait. And then you'll see the synchronicities, the people you meet, the books you pick up. If somebody said they got a book, they were looking for something, and they get a book delivered in FedEx on the topic that they didn't order, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And then you have to act, you have to do something. You can't just sit around and think about these things. Start doing things. Maybe get a spiritual practice, meditation, reading, crystal, whatever you want to get into to help deepen that, follow that strand that you love, to hear about. And then that's really it, and certainly the overriding thing of this is meditation, to unplug from this reality TV world, buzzers and lights and, podcast.
Yes.
We, and it's all coming at us, and just to turn everything off, go for a walk, and because the Spirit speaks to us in whispers many times in the trees and in the light, and that's when we can really be open to those types of things. So it's available.
That's great.
To us all.
That's great and very simple. Ask, trust, wait, and act.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for.
Wow, Scott,
joining
this
us.
was
Thank
great.
you.
John, when is this one going up?
It'll be next week.
Okay.
Or a week from today, actually. And also, just want to throw out there, if you've never watched George Carlin's revision of the Ten Commandments, look it up on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember that. It's out there. I'll have to listen to it again.
But he breaks it. He breaks it down. He breaks it down.
Yeah,
So.
I'm sure it's gonna be good.
Now, Scott, how long is your Egypt trip?
It's 12 days.
12 days. Well, get in touch with us afterwards and let us know what epiphanies you've had.
I may just be like a ghost figure or something. I don't know. I'll be like the Northern Lights behind Rob.
Behind Rob, right. Yeah. That's cool.
All right. Thanks
All right,
again.
this was great. Thanks
Thanks,
so much.
everyone. Great to care. Thanks, John.
Thank you.